Hello, everyone. This is Old Dad at Old Dad Discovers, and I'm finally back recording an episode. Sorry, it's been a little while, but I've been super busy preparing for my PhD work in progress. So tied up with that, but I thought that this would be an extra special show because I'm actually coming in from Melbourne, Australia. I'm on a business trip here for the university, for MIT, to screen some digital film and video student films to staff and students here. Some wonderful films, 2 capstone films, family dramas, and then 2 short experimental films from the Introduction to Experimental Video Production University elective that we ran. And so it's nice to bring the films here, screen them as I did last year when I screened 2 capstone films. And I think it's about collaboration and sharing and, showing showing the Vietnamese culture to staff and students here. So really excited. It's always great to be in Melbourne. I love the brisk air, not too cold, not too hot. And here's some of the beauty of being in Melbourne is, there you go, the tram system. So, super cool to be here. I'm going to meet with, I've already met with 6 different colleagues already, so literally leaving the airport and just yesterday morning and right away got to the hotel, dropped my bags off and started to take meetings, and I had 6 meetings already in the first day. So very productive, a wide range of meetings with staff, catching up with an old colleague, Li Ping, who's now in a very big role within the School of Design here. And then I also made my way down to Acme to meet somebody who has obviously organized a lot of showcases and events at Acme, but one particular one, which is a Games World exhibition, which was fantastic. If anybody's in Melbourne, they should definitely come down to see that. Not only showing the history of games, but how these games are made, which is incredible. So you could see the thinking behind the games, the different levels. There's also very many interactive type of displays, so people can be active in constructing and adding to the games, and also playing games, which is very important. I've always stressed the importance at any age, whether you're young or old, to play games, because it keeps our minds very active. And so I got to see that particular exhibition, which I would encourage young and old to come and see. So for those who are in Melbourne, definitely drop on by to the Acme and check that out. And from what I know, they just opened, so I was very fortunate to be here and then to get a tour of it. And I think when my colleague David comes here, he should be arriving today. He happens to be in Australia, and he's going to come to Melbourne so that we can do this RMIT Vietnam film screening at the RMIT campus. And so when he's here, perhaps we can mosey down there to see that particular exhibition, and also take advantage of the opportunity to go to museums as well. because that's one of the things that we wish could be better in Vietnam in terms of having more different types of art exhibitions. And so take advantage of the opportunity when we're here in Melbourne to go see that and experience that. And then we also want to go check out a film at the gigantic, ginormous IMAX screen here in Melbourne as well. So I think we've already got plans to do so today. And so really excited. Again, this is the cool thing about being in Melbourne, are the trains and trams and stuff. Really amazing public transportation here. And then right now I'm in front of the Victoria Library. Very beautiful structure. I'll go inside it when I get a chance. But at the moment I'm heading up to campus to meet with a Australian or a Vietnamese Australian colleague who I believe found out that I was coming up here or coming down to Melbourne, I should say, not coming up. Reached out to me to meet up with me. So he's teaching, I believe, a studio within the Media and Comms program at RMIT, where they are utilizing AI to create a feature film. So it's tremendous alignment with our digital film and video program in terms of looking at potentially different technologies to realize films, and particularly in alignment with our Intro to Experimental Video Production course, where quite a number of our students have realized their experimental films using or utilizing AI in terms of likely conception or concept, developing the concept, and also the visuals. So I hope that he and his students can make it to the screening, because I think that there's a lot of potential synergies that could definitely happen as a result of that. So that would be really cool. And we're going to meet up at the Little Bang Espresso, which is right outside of the RMIT campus, to chat and look for synergies and potential collaborations. And I think in particular with it being AI, I could see potentially our students contributing to the creation of some kind of AI feature or even short film, for sure, as a possibility. And I'm currently standing across the street from RMIT, one of the most interesting structurally and in terms of architecture, and also in terms of the use of color. So I'm at the corner in front of RMIT. So I'm gonna head over to the Little Bang Espresso and grab a coffee, grab something to snack on, and then meet up with Alan. So if Alan permits, I would love to have Alan also join me on this show to share a little bit about what he's doing, and again, the potential for collaboration, and just striking up a new friendship as well. I think being of Vietnamese heritage, there's always that connection, but also now the RMIT connection, and also the interest that we have in film. So very exciting. So I see my little trip here to be very productive, and so I'll do my best at sharing the things that I do here. And also I will be meeting with my supervisor as well to talk about my PhD, for which I did do a work in progress presentation very recently, the Pixel. And the overall consensus, and I'll share more about it, with regards to my PhD, was I'm trying to do too much. I've got to really narrow it down and focus my PhD on what will be examined. And so just focusing on the work, narrowing it down, and not trying to bite off more than I can chew and more than I can really be able to answer, especially in an examination, because that's the whole goal of it, right? Is to pass the PhD so I can move on and make films again potentially, or do more research in different areas. And that's the thing, I can't write my whole life story in the PhD. It should be a slice through of what I'm actually researching, and so I can get done with it. And for it to have tremendous value as well, because that's what I hope. My goal is to make it obviously accessible and one representation of what Vietnamese films could be from a diasporic Vietnamese perspective, particularly for somebody who is living, working in Vietnam. So, yeah, the RMIT campus. This is why we get some crazy and wild structures. Woo. So that's where we're going to be showing, screening the films, in that building back there, I believe. Yeah, one of the rooms in Building 80 in the lecture theater. So I'm going to plan to basically coordinate and test out the AV system to make sure that the films come across in a shining manner. And again, the goal is always to not only show the excellent work made by RMIT Vietnam digital film and video students and non-film students as well, because the two works made in the Introduction to Experimental Video Production were produced by non-film students. So looking to showcase their work as well and how creative Vietnamese students can be. And then again, looking for potential collaborations, synergies, potential to draw more RMIT Melbourne students to Vietnam on exchange and vice versa, because we believe that having these international connections and students from different countries working together will enrich their experience and then prepare them for the working world. So very exciting with regards to that. Okay, so I'm currently in front of the Little Bang Espresso Cafe, so I'm gonna go inside and grab a quick coffee and sit and wait for Alan to arrive and catch up with him and about this one studio course that he runs, and hopefully to share with him a little bit more about the RMIT campus in Vietnam, and also what we are doing there in terms of the digital film and video program. Okay, so great to catch up with everybody again. Sorry I've been away from recording episodes, but just so busy. And I hope to do a few episodes while I'm here in Melbourne to show you around and share with you the things I'm doing here, but also talk about my PhD and catch up with you all soon. Okay, so this is Old Dad Discovers. Well, this is Old Dad at Old Dad Discovering or Discovers, and I'll catch up with you shortly. Bye-bye. This is Old Dad at Old Dad Discovers, and I'm here with Alan Nguyen, who is, I would say, a colleague, but who teaches at RMIT in Melbourne.
In Melbourne, Australia. Yeah, that's right. And this is actually our first in-person meeting.
First time meeting. So Alan, I think, found out that I was coming here to do this film screening of RMIT Vietnam digital film and video student work. And so he reached out to me and said, hey, let's get in touch and have a coffee, because you're teaching a studio that uses AI to potentially realize a feature film. Is that correct?
Yeah. So should I go straight into talking about that?
Tell us about that.
Okay.
When I saw that, I was like, holy, that's what we want to do.
Okay,
and eventually, but looking at potential for collaboration between our students, right?
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
That would be great. Another thing, I'd love to circle back to your interest in projects that haven't been realized, and I need to tell you just a little bit more about Alejandro Jodorowsky's Dune.
Please.
It's one of my favorite projects that hasn't ever seen the light of day.
And then we can talk about the Denis Villeneuve versions,
right?
But let's just hear your take on Jodorowsky.
Well, I can tell you about
films.
I can tell you about AI feature film.
Yeah.
So in the media program at RMIT, we have the studio model where all of the core courses, the majority of the core courses in the program are within these studios. So studios, you can kind of think of them as like laboratories.
The 24 credit, 6-hour studio course,
they're
right?
5 hours per week.
Okay.
And so students, for those of you who aren't familiar with the credit point system, a regular subject, we call them courses, is 12 credit points. Yes. So studio courses are double that. They're very big. You see the students twice a week. And it's not so much the lecture tutorial model where we tell students what to do, give them instructions and then they do it. It's very much experimenting together.
Yeah.
So the studio leaders, they set the agenda. They might give the students some prompts, and then they go off and experiment, sometimes in the classroom, outside the classroom, and then come back and share those experiments.
Yeah, so we act almost as guides, right? Or
exactly.
Supervisors of projects.
That's right. It's like a research lab.
Yeah.
And you're the studio leader is like the head scientist.
Yeah.
So AI feature film, I'll go back a little bit. I've been leading studios investigating AI and media for a few semesters, starting in 2023. And I did it with a great colleague of mine, Joel Stern, who has a really big practice in lots of different forms of media, particularly sound, experimental sound. He works in a research group called Machine Listening, who are interested in the ways in which automated systems listen in on everything. So we together led these various studios. We've led a few of them, and they're all very expansive.
Yeah.
All looking at how this crazy world of AI can be used within the context of media.
Yeah.
So we were looking at, we didn't set a brief for the students, so they ended up making very, very diverse things. Some students made interactive games that had a chatbot inside. There was one that was like a murder mystery.
Yeah.
And then part of finding the clues was talking to a chatbot. And we
wow.
always exhibit the end projects, and that was very popular because people at the exhibition were chatting with the chatbot and getting it to say crazy things.
Yeah.
Some students make experimental music videos, stories. But I thought, I think the media program is similar to maybe your program in Vietnam, but I'd say 2/3 of the students want to become filmmakers. They're very, very excited about that.
Yeah.
And I do a lot of things, but I love filmmaking.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, what about one studio that's just dedicated to filmmaking, and also looking at the tension between AI or automated systems within media making and what we might consider traditional ways of filmmaking and notions of authenticity and things like that.
Yeah.
So the tension between those. And so I set off with an ethos. Before I even met the students, we send out the studio descriptions, and I said, there's so many different ways of making a film using AI tools and
Yeah.
techniques. But for this, one particular model which I'm interested in is retaining certain parts of traditional filmmaking that I think are quite beautiful.
Okay.
And one is collaborative brainstorming and collaborative writing
Yeah.
amongst humans.
Yeah.
And so I've come from working in TV.
But are they using AI to brainstorm ideas, or is it just the human brainstorming the ideas?
Mainly humans.
Oh,
mainly
okay.
humans.
So no use of AI in generating concepts then. Because that's always an area
I'd
that.
say not. I didn't disallow it. So
Okay.
it's unusual. Many across universities all around the world. There's
Yeah.
various rules for this particular studio, and it's very contained. It's
Yeah.
not. It's kind of an experimental studio course. They're allowed to use it for whatever, but
Yeah.
I don't. I initiate prompts, and I
Yeah.
always, with the ideas, always get them to lead with their interests and generate between them through conversation
Yeah.
and brainstorming.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
So part of the studio is generating the concept for a feature. So
yeah.
you would say a logline, synopsis, treatment generated, and then do they actually take that into production?
Yeah. So the two pillars I'd say are the human collaboration for the ideas, like what's
Yeah.
the film about? And I know, like we could bring up a laptop or our phone now and say, give me 20 ideas for a feature film.
Yeah.
We'd get some pretty amazing
Yeah,
ones.
yeah.
But
Maybe as starting points, right? And then you gotta
that's what I find.
refine.
I
Yeah.
find I'll use it for brainstorming, but I rarely ever use an idea as is. I find more often than not that it'll free me up. It makes me realize, oh, there's just so many ideas that I could do.
Yeah.
And then I'll come up with something that's not on that ChatGPT generated list. Sometimes, occasionally, there might be something that sparks an idea.
Something here, right?
Yeah,
There's something here.
yeah, there's something.
An angle I wouldn't have found.
Yeah, that's
had
right.
I not generated it.
That's right.
But now I can riff off of it.
Exactly.
Create something more,
Yeah.
your music background, ripped off of it to create something even more amazing.
Yeah, that's right. So I'd say that in this particular studio, I haven't been. So maybe I'll rewind a little bit. In previous studios, we had 6 weeks as the first half of the semester, 6 weeks for the second half. The first 6 weeks consisted of 2 weeks looking at AI in writing, 2 weeks AI in image production, and 2 weeks AI in music and sound. This AI feature film studio is it's the first time I've run it, and it's really looking at how do we use these tools, but with retaining human brainstorming and working with real human actors and filming on location.
Yeah.
So it sounds like, well, that's not revolutionary at all. Like filming with actors, big deal. But in the future, and when you're considering AI tools, we can prompt whatever we want.
Yeah.
And there's benefits and downsides of that. But I just
Obviously,
really
consistency, right? That's always been the problem. Is that
Yeah.
how do they consistently produce somebody's likeness, at different angles? Because AI being, something that averages, tends to change the way somebody looks, or it still has that kind of uncanny feel to it, where it isn't quite as realistic as could be.
Yeah. I mean, I think for me, the reason why I wanted to look at those two things, human brainstorming, human actors, is filmmaking as a thing that humans do. Like, why do we do it?
Yeah.
I think it's about sharing stories,
Yeah.
so that people within our communities and outside of our communities can we understand more about the human experience.
Absolutely.
And promotes empathy. And sometimes you might someone could feel alone, and then they listen to a song, or they see a piece of cinema and they realize that okay, well, someone else feels like that as well, or they learn something about a particular walk of life. So for me, I think that there's some value in human, pure human generated stories. And I'm not saying something that's purely generated from AI, that could have its own benefits, but just for this story, for this studio, I wanted to really plant the flag for that.
Yeah.
And then with the actors, I think for me, going to the cinema when we are moved emotionally, and that's part of the reason maybe we go to the movies is to feel something.
Absolutely. That's why I go.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You know, whether it be laugh, cry,
Yeah.
be terrified.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
For me, I think a human going through that process of emoting is, they're embodying that character, and it makes us feel something because we're seeing that human.
Yeah.
So there's that. There's the works and how they function in the world, but I think it's also about students, and students are young people. We're kind of nurturing them, and I think I really believe, and maybe this will all shift, but I do think that their ability to communicate with one another is really important. So I want to nurture that through the brainstorming, and then working together. So if there's a version of this studio which could have been for 12 weeks, they're just sitting behind their laptops, just prompting, and I think that they would miss out on all of the building of soft skills, that ability to riff off of each other's ideas and share perspectives, things that they're interested in the work. And then when you're working with actors, or you're working with your classmates on a shoot, maybe you're filming in someone's house or in a park, you're practicing all those soft skills, your problem solving, and the physicality of it as well.
Yeah.
Like I think it's bad for humans to sit behind a laptop for,
and
10
there
hours a day.
are nuances. There are nuances to performance. There's the environment that affects the performance, right? Because sometimes you don't get the location you want. You've got to shift to another location, or there are objects that inspire an actor.
Yes.
And I would even say, when you're on set, sometimes the synergy between two actors will always change the emotions of the characters or those actors in performing those characters.
Yeah.
Like if you and I have a connection, our performance is going to be different if we didn't have the connection.
Absolutely.
If we weren't on the same page, or there might be something that you, in your performance, say or do that I react to, that just kind of happened on the spot. Wasn't in the script, wasn't rehearsed, but then now, okay, I'm going to riff off of that. Again, the word riff, and then take it a different way.
Yeah.
And so I agree with you that, there's these sparks that happen when you're working with humans that don't exist with an AI.
Yeah,
Right?
and I'm definitely not. I'm not a Luddite. I'm not someone who thinks, okay, we need to cling to tradition. I think it's just for this particular studio, I wanted to work with that ethos, human brainstorming, human performance, potentially proposing that as a model moving forward for future AI filmmaking, where, well, what is that right mix? And there will be other mixes. Like I'm not against people brainstorming heavily with AI or working with AI generated characters, but just being mindful of what the mix is and what the benefits are, and particularly in an educational context, I think when you're working with automated tools or tools that can automate, I find that if you have an understanding of the pre-automated version, you are better at the automated version. And I'll put that in concrete terms. Someone who is a good writer, who's manually written using a pen or typing things out, editing and re-editing their words to try and find the right way of articulating their ideas and coming up with the good ideas, give them...
Charging pause. Okay, that's fine.
give them ChatGPT, and they will be able to understand the difference between a good output and a bad output with ChatGPT and how to use it. Whereas our students, they haven't had as much experience writing scripts or working with actors to necessarily differentiate the difference between a good performance and a bad performance that's purely generated.
Yeah.
So to give them the opportunity to work with some of these more traditional methods then makes them even better working with the AI tools, I think.
Yeah, and I think there are various uses of AI tools that I want to explore. Like let's just say I'm my story that I've written as part of my PhD thesis is actually a story that takes place during the subsidy period in Vietnam.
Okay.
It's a very, I would say, it was a very difficult time in Vietnamese, contemporary Vietnamese history economically. And so how do you portray that time period given some of the potential politics involved? Because I'm obviously a diasporic Vietnamese telling a story about a very kind of dark economic time in Vietnamese history. Will I be able to tell that story, for one? And then how do we get the funds to recreate that time period? Because obviously if you're doing period pieces, it's very expensive, right?
Forgive my ignorance, the subsidy
So the subsidy
period.
period is a period that took place from post-war Vietnam War, American War, to roughly 1986 when they went into the kind of the đổi mới or renovation period, where they invited for more, international bodies to come back and be involved with kind of developing Vietnam.
Yeah.
So it was also a period when the U.S. was very strong on the embargo against Vietnam post-war. And so it was a really tough time where the government had to subsidize most of people's living and eating and everything. And it was a very challenging time. But it also, people who went through that period talked about the struggles, but they also talked about the camaraderie of that time period where families bonded and people bonded. And although it was a rough time, they talk about those nice moments, But it's obviously when you tell the story, you've got to kind of balance both, and you don't want to shy away from some of the hardships as well, because then you wouldn't really be telling that story without
picture.
showing that.
Yeah.
So how do I tell this story, but recreate this time period, honestly, when it costs so much money, and without clarity whether or not the film can be released, because you kind of don't know, and not that my story is focused on any negativity. It's just a mother and son story, but against that backdrop. And so how do you recreate that time period if it's going to cost so much money to create the backdrop? So AI could be a possibility of recreation of that time period.
Absolutely.
That will be less expensive. I don't know. I haven't gone into the whole economics of it.
Yeah.
But the fact that AI could generate some of those backdrops using imagery from that time period to then compose it with, live action performances.
I mean, you could potentially do a big sweeping, street shot that's going down the street.
Yeah,
and,
that you could not recreate now in modern
it
day
would be so
Ho Chi
expensive.
Minh City, right? Like just think the sets that you would need and walking off streets in Ho Chi Minh City, it would be impossible.
Well, it's quite amazing. I'm thinking of something like Gangs of New York, where Martin Scorsese recreated this time painstakingly. And but who has that budget?
Exactly.
So to be able to recreate that world, and I mean, you could tell it quite intimately.
Yes.
Lots
of interiors.
Yes.
I've actually written it in a way where 70% of the story takes place outside, outdoors, in the rubber forest and forest.
Wow. Oh, beautiful.
So I've done it in a way where I think it can be conceived.
Yeah.
but we'll see, you know?
Oh, that's
So
exciting.
trying to keep the cost as low as
Yes.
possible
Yeah,
to
absolutely.
tell a very heartwarming story between mother and son. But also, because it is a PhD, a creative research artifact, there's also the incorporation of my journey
Yes.
of return to Vietnam and also my PhD journey that's kind of embedded within the journey of this character.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it kind of functions on many different layers, you know, that I wouldn't have conceived of had I just had written it for industry.
Well, it's really great to hear that you're putting your various um, experiences, journeys into the writing of the main characters,
Yeah.
because I just think, I mean, you can really see it with students, the difference between the ones who put themselves into it. The writing
Yeah.
immediately is, oh, it's so fleshed out and authentic and about things, whereas the ones that are more thinking, okay, I want this character to do that because that'll be entertaining for the audience, like in a really external way,
Yeah.
where the characters have nothing to do with them.
Yeah.
The writing just is flat.
Yeah.
So yeah, that sounds
And
amazing.
I come from you know, obviously a commercial filmmaking world. You know, I went to USC Film School in the
Awesome.
US. And so I've always kind of thought, well, it's all about industry. It's all
Yeah.
about, you know, number of people coming to the
Sure.
theaters, box office hit.
Yeah, yeah.
I haven't created one, unfortunately. I've done directed 2 feature films,
Awesome.
had 1 screenplay that was produced into a feature film, but I haven't had the box office success. And I think part of it is because I love to tell these very rich Vietnamese stories that aren't as commercial in terms of being the high concept, uh, very, I guess, action oriented, or telling a story that has characters that are where it's very plot driven. It's very character driven,
Yeah.
And I think for this particular story, because of the research aspect, I even take it further to make it what I would call a little bit slower cinema than what I would normally write.
Yeah.
Character driven, and and had I written it, because I first heard this story back in 2009, and I just thought, well, how would I make this? Would it ever be made? So I then kind of shelved it since then. And it wasn't until I engaged with my PhD again that I go, well, now I should just write it, because it can actually function as a research artifact.
Awesome.
And outside of the whole idea of production. So it has a value. It would provide young researchers and young screenwriters access to my mind in terms of the way I think and the way I write, and so it would have a value outside of the production.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
I'm like you. I get really excited about being able to make creative work as research. I think when I was a kid, like 17, my dream probably was to make, movies that were just commercially successful and artistically successful. But I think, I don't know, and I still would hope to do that. But I think I'm really, really. I feel quite blessed to work in the university system.
Yeah, I do too.
It's creativity for the outcome. The film itself, or whatever it is that you're making, has creativity
and not the
in
result
it.
and reaction to it necessarily, right?
Yeah, well, and also the creativity in the approach and the process and all of that. You're thinking creatively about, well, are there new kind of forms of film or ways of doing your film?
Yeah.
And that you can share that.
Yeah.
I think I feel like it kind of allows you to be more creative. And then also there's obviously when you're making something for a production company or a broadcaster, there's, rightly so, because there's so much money involved, then you might have less creative freedom. Whereas if it's something that's more research based, then you can really experiment. And, So I'm like you. I really like working as a creative researcher.
Yeah. It's been a joy, and I never thought I'd be a teacher or a lecturer, right?
Yeah.
But it was always my mother's dream because
Ah,
my mother named me Nguyen, jump Khoa, which means to value education, jump, and then Khoa, value education. So it's always been embedded in my name that it was her dream for me to get involved in education because she always wanted to be a teacher. And because of the war and all the things that happened, she could never pursue it.
yeah.
And so, in a way, I'm living out
That's
her
beautiful.
dream, and then she
That's
passed it
beautiful.
on to me, her love,
Yeah,
and
that's beautiful.
yeah, so it's really been a very powerful journey for me, and I love sharing my experience and my knowledge and my failures because there's a lot of learning
Yeah,
from
yeah,
failures
absolutely.
with my
Absolutely.
students, and
That's
to see
great.
them go on and become filmmakers, become storytellers has been a blessing. I get excited. It's like when you have kids and you see them do things and they're successful at it and they find joy out of it. I find joy out of it tremendously as well.
I'm the same as you. I get just as excited from, say, an industry writers' room. I often work in writers' rooms when it's industry work, coming up with the ideas, people saying this idea, riffing off of it, and then encouraging that with my students. Their ideas, and I say this to them, and I don't think they believe me sometimes, but they're just as good. They're often just as good as the industry stuff. It's just, well, it takes a while to get into that industry environment for various reasons. You kind of have to prove yourself. But often their ideas are very fresh, and I get so excited about it. And then I guess the trick is how do they then, what are the pathways for them to work in ways where they feel like it's what they want to do, whether that be they've got a day job and they're still making theatre or film kind of in an independent way, or they're working in the industry.
Yeah.
But I get so excited by my students' work.
Yeah, and I teach students that just because you're students doesn't mean that you're not creative, or the difference between, and I share this with my students, the difference between somebody who's an amateur and a professional is that the professional can produce results consistently, high quality results consistently, whereas the amateur can still have an amazing product, but they aren't as consistent at it. And so if you're able to create a way in which you can produce high quality results, then that's when people are willing to pay you as a professional, because they know that when they put it into your hands, that this person is going to produce high quality results consistently, and they're not taking a chance. Whereas with an amateur, once in a while you get a brilliant work, and then the next few projects aren't as brilliant, and so people are reservedly giving you money to do it. So develop processes for yourself, methodologies, so that you can produce high quality results consistently, and then people give you money for it.
I'm wondering.
That's my explanation.
I'm wondering. I'm thinking that because I agree with you, and I think traditional film and television, because it's so expensive, it has to work that way. Where why would a producer hire someone unless they've got a track record where they can go, okay, this multi-million-dollar production or whatever it costs, I'm going to hire this person to be a writer, to be a cinematographer, or whatever it is they're hiring that person, unless they've got this string of credits where they go, I know this is going to work.
Well, there's the whole. Okay, finish your butt.
Sorry. My butt is. I think my butt's a decent one.
Okay.
My butt is that. I mean, you're making this podcast, and the nature of media is so different to where it was, say, 20 years ago. That anyone, we were talking before, anyone with a camera, a phone, can record something. It doesn't have to be it doesn't have to have high production values. It has to have interesting ideas. It just has to have interest. It can gain attention, and then it can reach people. And it can reach more people than a really well-produced or high-budget film that doesn't have interesting ideas.
And that's what's happening around the world,
So then you layer in AI. And so then the kid who doesn't have much money doesn't have the credits.
Yeah.
Because that's what led to this thread of conversation. They don't have the credits. They can't prove themselves, but they got the ideas. They've got the energy. They could film something with their friends with their phone, use AI in clever ways to enhance.
Yeah.
And then they've got something that, maybe it's interesting. Now it also looks good.
To produce something, because before they didn't have the means to, right? Didn't have the high quality cinema cameras and all that, but now they can use that to support their vision. Yeah. But I agree. I think it's AI has kind of democratized filmmaking and any kind of work, whether it be podcasting, whether it be quick kind of social media clips that do garner quite a lot of views.
Yeah. Of course, there's also the flip side of this, because since we're talking about AI, I know if someone watches this, there will be people saying, well, yes, it can assist young people, less experienced people to put their work out there with kind of super tools. But it will also be used to replace those junior roles. So, for example, the head of an advertising company, rather than paying a production company, which then hires interns and paid interns and junior positions, they put that money, or maybe a fraction of that money, to someone who's good at AI, and they do everything. Even the people on camera are no longer people, but they're beautiful models that are purely AI generated. So that is the world that we live in. And I think we kind of the world will have lots of positive and negative.
It's going to be a bit of evolution that's going to happen, I think, as the generated AI imagery becomes less uncanny and becomes more real.
Oh, absolutely.
Because you're starting to get to that point where you can't tell anymore. But this is the scary part. I mean, that's great on the creative side, but on the news reporting side, that's where I'm most worried, is how can you tell what is real in terms of news and what is just fake? And people are going to put it out there, these deep fakes, where it's going to influence a great majority of people into thinking and doing things that they wouldn't have done had they not thought it was real.
Well, there's so much. I
that's
feel like
frightening. So how do we vet that,
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Because already just pure text, posts on social media, news article, they're very conflicting in terms of, and some are misinformation where they're not intending, but they're just misinformed. Disinformation where it's very intentional.
Yeah.
It's kind of a major weapon that various actors around the world are using, and then you layer in deep fake visuals and sounds. So you have, a fake image of a fake video of a politician saying something or doing something, or someone doing something.
Fake events.
Fake events. I think the main difference is when we read a post. Okay, something happened to someone.
Are we still recording? I just want to make sure. Still going. Yeah.
We see an article about something horrible that's happened. We feel on a gut level some response. We see that.
Yeah.
It's even more. And I'll give you. I'll tell you about this TV project that I think can highlight some of this. There's a ethically horrible TV program called Deep Fake Love. Okay. It's a reality TV show. It's Spanish reality TV show, and couples are testing their love. So they're separated into two houses where they live, and the houses are filled with single people who are tempting them. So it's a familiar format.
Yeah.
But the difference on this program is they get each member of the couple to look at videos of what their partner is up to, and they're making out with people. But the thing is, some of it is deep faked, and to make things worse.
Which part is deep fake? The actual making out stuff, or
Yeah.
No.
So what they do is they get the sexy single to make out with an actor, and then the actor is face replaced. And so just say,
Oh, wow.
like I'm sitting there watching a video of my partner making out with someone. It's not real, but I'm not told that. And after they tell them the nature
That's
of
cruel.
it's horrible.
Oh.
But I found it fascinating because, and why I brought it up
And
is,
do people watch it? Is it?
I don't know how popular it is, but I mean, I watched the whole season because it's fascinating. I don't agree with the ethics behind it,
Yeah.
but the reason I brought it up is, well, these contestants, even once they know that some of this material is fake, on a gut level, they're seeing images of their partner doing these things, and they
Yeah.
kind of, there's the conscious mind and there's the kind of subconscious or the deeper kind of reptilian brain, and it sees these images and it can't help but on a physiological level feel something. And so then they're all upset, and then they actually make out with someone in their house.
No.
And it creates all this drama. But I can tell you, I'm working on a project. We're going to screen in Melbourne, in Nam, in December.
Okay.
And it's an ethical version of that. It's called, there's two different names for it. One is hot or bot. The other name is the luring test, which is like a twist on the word, the Turing test.
Yeah.
So the Turing
Okay,
test is, can you
Alan
tell
Turing.
if it's exactly. Is it an AI or a human?
Yeah.
We're not just questioning, we're not just testing if people can tell the difference. We're trying to test if people will find the AI more attractive and more enticing and as emotional companion. So we're going to do a real kind of social experiment and film it, and we're doing it ethically. It's all everyone involved, right from the open call where we're casting, we're saying, this is what this program is about.
Yeah.
And we'll chat with them all through the process so that it's not about tricking people or trying to manipulate people for bad intentions. So that's an area that I'm interested in as well, not just AI as a tool for creativity, but also AI and how it influences our relationship to each other.
Yeah.
As humans, as friends, as collaborators, as romantic companions.
Yeah.
So, that's one particular area that I'm interested
Here's an interesting idea.
in. Yeah.
What if you did a similar show to what you just described, where you had these ethical issues, right? The deep fakes. But what if you deep faked the actual partner of that person into, let's just say, their partner making out with?
Mm-hmm.
And so then you create these actual moments between the two partners that are fake, but you have that partner think that it actually happened. Does that make sense? Do you see what I'm saying?
Not quite. So maybe we have to use examples. So let's say there's a couple, Jack and Jill.
Jack and Jill.
Yeah.
So they're partners.
Yep. Jack and Jill are partners.
And then what happens is Jill goes on a show.
Yep.
And then Jill then has their clips generate a deep fake of Jill with Jack.
Yep.
That are fake, that aren't real, of things that have happened with them in the past. And then Jack is led to believe that those moments actually happened and was forgotten. Just to test Jack whether or not he remembers the moments or not. And I'm sure there are lots of Jacks who will go,
I kind of remember that.
Yeah. But it was all deep fake.
That's great.
But it would be positive, in the sense that they're not real, but they were of Jack, but Jack can't remember.
Well, I'm also interested. That's a fascinating idea.
Yeah.
I'm also interested in, because there's so much talk of. I feel like the public sentiment towards AI is generally negative. I don't know about in your circles, but so many news articles. It's just in a kind of a blanket way. But I'm very interested in that, and we need to be discussing those things. Good on people for talking about it. But I think we need to be specific We need to, it's like talking about the internet. The internet is bad. We need to say, well, what about the internet is bad? What usages of the internet bad? How can the internet be used for positive ways? And so on that, I'm interested in how AI can be used to improve ourselves
Yeah.
and improve our relationships. So your idea then, it made me think that it can be used as a tool, and I've thought about visualizations before. Um, my family Buddhists, and my mum always used to get me to meditate, and part of meditation is visualizing yourself as happy and healthy, visualizing your family as happy and healthy.
Yeah.
So could you use AI to, for example, project a future version of you and your partner doing something really positive that would not be what you normally do?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Say you're stuck in a rut, and it's been you haven't traveled for 20 years, and it's almost unimaginable because you're so busy. And
Yeah.
then you create a video of that, and you go, oh, that's what it would look like.
Yeah.
Just as an example.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it'd be something like that.
visualization,
Yeah.
positive visualization.
Yeah. And maybe that will, further connect the couple.
Yeah.
Because we tend to forget about a lot of things, especially in relationships.
Yeah.
All the positives, because sometimes in life, all the negatives become much bigger in our minds, and we remember all the negative experiences, and rather than some of the good ones. And so maybe those little things can refresh us on, wow, this person is amazing, and they've done all these things
Oh,
for
that's
me
beautiful. Yeah.
that maybe I forgot about.
Do you know what? I'm actually really interested in AI and memory. In one of my joint studios with Joel Stern, so we've run 3 studios together, one in 2023 called Automatic for the People, one called Together in Electric Dreams, which is 2024, and then one first semester of this year, Together in Electric Dreams 2025. In one of these studios in the past, we took our students to an exhibition here at RMIT Melbourne, and it was all on photography. And there was what's her name? I think Sarah Oscar, who's a Sydney-based photographer, and her work in that exhibition was something that really stood out for me.
Yeah.
She is from Thailand, or her family is from Thailand, and her mother left Thailand really, really quickly in 1975, I believe. And she was heavily pregnant, and it's a very significant time for their family, but it hasn't been photographed.
Oh,
So this
okay.
artist, Sarah Oscar, who's actually normally a photographer,
Yeah.
she created photographs of this significant time. And there's all these images of her mother, heavily pregnant, sick,
Yeah.
at Bangkok airport. And it's a way of exploring memory. And so I've done it with my father. I've said, what are some significant memories from childhood? And he shared, and I created the images, and he wept because it was a way of, for him, he's able to tell the story,
Yeah.
and we feel emotional hearing about it. But then seeing it,
Yeah.
it goes into our system in a different way.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a really rich area, I think.
Yeah.
And I love your idea of, after a long time of a relationship, it could be a family member, it could be your partner, it
Yeah.
could be a child, and you kind of, maybe you're in a rut and you've forgotten the most beautiful moments. Then you do a session together, you share the most beautiful memories. Maybe there is limited documentation, maybe there wasn't
Yes,
any
exactly.
photos.
Yeah, yeah.
And then you create those,
Yeah.
and you go, oh, whoa, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know what I've done is for my PhD, I'm actually, because normally, like, for most PhD dissertations,
Yeah.
is you end up writing it in a very formal essay kind of
Sure.
way. And the way I'm writing my dissertation is I'm going to write it in the form of a screenplay,
Awesome. That's very
which is
cool.
my practice.
Yeah.
But I'm also doing it where, and again, it could change because I'm in the process of writing it. But the dissertation is written in a way where I'm because my father passed away about a year and 3 months ago.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, and he was showing early signs of dementia, but then he had a heart attack. And I had brought him back to Vietnam, my parents back to Vietnam to live,
Oh, wow.
so that we could spend time together.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And he was there for 6 months before he passed. And it was very sudden, it was very unexpected. It was on my birthday.
Oh.
So after we had my birthday celebration,
Oh.
I walked him and my mom back to their apartment, which is right across the way. And got the phone call when I got back to my place. So
Oh, that's terrible.
yeah, it was very sudden. So it was just like, it was during my preparation for my third milestone at that time. And of course,
No.
I failed that.
Yeah.
But so for me, I'm going to write this dissertation as in the form of a screenplay where I sit down and I have a conversation with my father's ghostly,
wow.
about my dissertation, about me
wow.
going through the process of finishing my PhD.
Wow.
And so sharing with him about why I'm doing the practice and why I'm doing the research, and gonna walk him through and explain to him what I envision, and my whole journey of doing the PhD. And so
That's
in a way,
amazing. That's
it's not
beautiful.
only talking through my process and the reflexivity of my research, but also a bit of closure with my dad and my relationship with him, because he
wow.
was such a major influence for me to return back to Vietnam and to connect with the homeland and be there and give back to the country, you know.
Wow.
So
Oh, that's beautiful.
yeah, so I hope that it makes it more accessible, and I think that a lot of young Vietnamese can relate, because we have these kind of built-in, I wouldn't say expectations, but of us kind of carrying on the Vietnamese name, you know, our name, and passing on, you know, what has been given to us by our parents, our love for country, love for the culture. And so for me, I think it will be some form of closure with regards to the trauma of my father's passing, you know, and not being able to get through with it and share that with him, you know.
That's incredible. I think that's a beautiful idea. For so many reasons. I think what you were talking about with legacy and being able to spend more time thinking about what it is from our parents and our culture that we want to kind of articulate or share, as a way of, for you personally, to go through, you know, some sense of closure. And often people talk about writing down your traumas is one of the best ways of kind of healing from it.
Yeah.
And then the third thing I think that stands out for me is what you said about accessibility. Most people, we put so much work into writing our PhDs. No one reads it.
Yeah,
unless you
it
turn
goes
it
into
into
a
a book.
repository.
Yeah.
And then it's only people who are maybe doing research in that area that would look at it, right?
But I think the fact that you're writing it as a screenplay and that you're writing it in such a personal way, I think many undergraduates or just people interested in, you know, ways of going through grief, or there's so many ways in. There's so many, you know, like that is accessible to many, many people, not just academics.
Yeah,
You know? I think writing as a screenplay and personal and about what you were going through to do that, and personal. I think
and you know, like, you know, I don't want to say in general, but for Vietnamese, we have such a difficult time in expressing our emotions to our parents, to say I love you, you know, or that I care about you. We're also so reserved, and so it's my process of also sharing that with young Vietnamese, so that maybe, you know, they can learn that it's okay to say that. It's okay to make that first
great.
move.
Yeah,
Because our parents, you know, from they're not going to make that first move. They're going to be very reserved about sharing their emotions to their children. And in particular, I would say Vietnamese parents back in the home country.
Yeah.
I think it's more open. I think if you live in America, or more open when you live, internationally, because we've grown around in that Western culture where you're more expressive. You can actually hug your parents, whereas in Vietnam, there's very little of that happening.
Yeah.
And so maybe that will be helpful for young Vietnamese to say, hey,
I
let's
love that.
break down the barriers
I love that.
and express ourselves, because the time is so short that we have with our parents. And and hopefully it's like living without regret, to be able to open up and share that we do care about them. It's hard to say, but sometimes we have to make that first move, and that changed my relationship with my parents when I was able to
So
actually
you made
say
the first
that
move
to my parents.
And how over time, were they able to say it back? Were they,
Yes.
Beautiful.
And then we became, I think, a lot closer. We almost became more like friends, than just parent to child, where you have to be respectful. And not to say that I wasn't respectful, but that we could hold each other, we could hug each other, and we could share stories that maybe are reserved for sharing with friends. Like some of the difficulties that we're going through, I can actually talk it through with my parents, and they could actually share their experiences of being a parent and growing up or living in America, and all their shortcomings and all that. They were able to share it back with me. So it became
That's
a
wonderful.
much tighter relationship when you're able to do that, to bridge that gap.
I think that's so lovely, everything that you said, and I think what I respond to is it's that balance between what do we want to learn, preserve, and share of traditional Vietnamese culture, but also, well, what could be added onto? And what you were saying was, I feel like in traditional Vietnamese culture, if there is a bit of a distance and you're not very expressive emotionally with demonstrating your love, hugging, saying I love you. Well, maybe we can shift that, and maybe there's a positivity to that. So I love that it's both. We're not trying to do one or the other. And yeah, I have experienced a version of what you're saying in that I think my mum probably was very loving, and my dad is very loving, but it's more through what he did.
The sacrifices
Yeah,
that
the
he's
sacrifice,
made, right?
absolutely.
Yeah, so less expressive,
Yeah,
but he
yeah,
does it
yeah.
through action.
Yeah. But now, and I feel like he's in older age, he's like very, very, he's a really great listener. He knows what's going on in our lives. Always, he's very, very sensitive, and but I think even just the I love you, I feel like it took a little while. Like I feel like I had to learn it.
Have you been able to express that?
Yeah. And
Oh man, that's huge. It's so huge. I can't say it enough how huge that is.
But I feel like I had to learn it, from, say, my partner. She says it a lot to me, and I kind of had to learn, because of course that's how we feel, but actually it does help saying it, because it's a constant reminder. And now I say it a lot to my parents. And maybe a couple of years ago, I don't think I'm making this up, there was a little bit of hesitancy, particularly on my dad's side, but now we meet each other. It's
and it
great.
makes such a big difference in your relationship.
Yeah.
And now even for me, like with my kids, I am so much more engage with them and play with them and say that to them so that they can hear it, and that so they can feel more comfortable with expressing it back to me and with their friends and
wonderful. That's
other people in the family.
Excellent.
So that they don't feel reserved, or they don't feel like it's a bit weird, so that it becomes very normalized, for them. And hopefully that helps them in their journey.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to ask about was, I guess, filmmaking communities in Australia and Vietnam. Like, what is the scene like in Vietnam? How are you finding it?
It's
Making films
exciting.
and what you're seeing.
It's really exciting because I think right now, I think the Vietnamese box office is one of the one that's still growing. So
Oh,
we've had record-breaking box office returns for Vietnamese films, and most recently a Vietnamese war picture about the Battle of Quang Tri, but from the Vietnamese perspective. And it was actually produced by the Vietnamese military production company.
huh.
And most of the war films or anything produced by the government has in the past not been supported by audiences. Like they've done okay, but very limited release. But this one broke all box office records, the highest grossing film ever in Vietnam. So a movie called Mưa Đỏ or Red Rain. And there was a lot of groundbreaking things with this film. And I want to know, like, and this is still what I don't know, because it was obviously the 50-year anniversary of the reunification or the fall of Saigon
Yes.
this year in April, and then the 80-year anniversary of the independence of Vietnam. So those were very big national events that occurred that might have inspired people to go support these types of films. So I would love to see more of these types of films made outside of this year to then truly get a gauge on whether or not these films are being supported for the actual film itself rather than just the nationalism of this particular year.
Oh, actually, my question, where I was going with that was, that it was a high grossing box office hits. And then I'm curious about all levels, the grassroots and
So
the indie.
so a lot of the indie films and have done really well. Like most of the
awesome.
Vietnamese films, I think we're running out of time,
Okay.
but most of them have done super well at the box office. So not only that film, but a lot of Vietnamese are actually turning inward and watching Vietnamese films.
So good.
Yeah,
That's
and
excellent.
the number of films released every year has grown since COVID. Obviously, it was really stunted by COVID, but
Yeah.
now it's grown. And as a result, when there's greater box office, there's greater investment, and there's obviously greater output, right? Because you need money to keep realizing different concepts and ideas and genres.
Yes.
So I've seen a vast improvement in terms of the types of films that are made, and so I'm very looking forward to the possibility of, after I finish the PhD, to return back to filmmaking
Oh, cool.
and hopefully realizing my thesis screenplay into a film as
It
well.
sounds really exciting. Yeah, I'd
Yeah.
love to read a draft at some point.
Yeah. So I'm here to meet with my supervisor as well to
Oh, cool. Who's your supervisor?
Stephen Gonson.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Stephen
So
Johnson,
Associate Professor Stephen Gonson, and then I've got a secondary supervisor who used to be part of my cohort as part of PRS Asia,
Okay.
Alvin Pang, who's a poet in Singapore,
Oh, great.
and he's been very helpful as well.
Wonderful.
So
It's a nice mix.
keep my fingers crossed that I finish in a year and get back to filmmaking. But I think we're running out of battery, so we'll wrap.
Perfect.
Ellen,
That was a really
thank
good
you
chat.
so much.
Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Old Dad Discovers.